Welcome back, welcome back. Well, preparing interviews and a program like this one, we'd have had a real problem without the help of a new arrival. The new arrival is Wikipedia, only started in 2001, the free online encyclopedia. It was founded by Jimmy Wales. It's taken over the world. How did he do it? We'll find out now. Jimmy, how did it all begin, the idea of a free encyclopedia bringing knowledge to the world, etc.? When did you first have that idea?
I had the original idea back in 1999, which was 2 years before the start of Wikipedia. At the time, I had seen the growth of open source software was becoming a big phenomenon on the internet, and I was seeing programmers coming together to collaborate to build really great software. I mean, most of the software that runs the internet is this community-written open source software. And I thought, well, this kind of collaboration can extend far beyond just software. This is something, a new phenomenon going on that seemed pretty interesting. So that was when I launched the predecessor to Wikipedia, which was called Newpedia. But at the time, I didn't really have a good understanding of communities and the internet, volunteerism and things like this. And so Newpedia was a very controlled, very top-down structure. I hired a PhD in philosophy to run it, and he designed a very convoluted and top-down system, which at the time I think made a lot of sense, given what we knew at the time. But this was a failure because it was too hard for people to participate, and but it was interesting because we actually had a huge amount, an outpouring from people on the internet who thought that this vision of a free encyclopedia for everyone in all the languages of the world sounded pretty exciting.
And so how did you take it to the next stage, and how did you start to get contributions from the public? I mean, presumably you had to do the first few hundred yourselves. Or
well, because we had the previous project, Newpedia, we had a large community, a couple hundred really active people on the mailing list discussing how to make an encyclopedia. So that group of people was there, so that when I heard of the wiki concept, which had actually been invented by a guy named Ward Cunningham back in 1995, I downloaded some wiki software that was free software on the internet and installed it. And people always want to know what was the first article in Wikipedia. That's lost to history. We don't know. But I know what the first words were. I typed "Hello World," which is the classic thing that all programmers type when they learn a new language. It's the first thing you do when you're learning programmers. You type "Hello World." Yeah, so then that community, that early community, immediately dived in and started working. And we had more work done in 2 weeks than we had done in the 2 years prior. So even very early on, it seemed pretty exciting that this kind of open system might lead to something interesting.
And what does the word wiki actually mean?
So wiki is it's short for wiki, which is a Hawaiian word meaning quick. So if you go on vacation to Hawaii, at the airport they have the wiki bus, which is the quick bus. And so the idea of wiki is quick collaboration. It's the idea is to say, let's reduce the barriers to participation. Let's make it easy for people to get together and start to write something.
And so how much of what is now Wikipedia was written by the public, and how much by your employees?
Oh, 100% was written by the public. In fact, one of the things that's really surprising to people about Wikipedia is, even though we're the 5th most popular website on the internet, people know us all over the world, we're actually a very tiny charity that runs Wikipedia. We're a nonprofit organization, and the staff, global staff, is about 25 people. And they're not
to this day?
To this day, yes.
25 people?
25, yeah. And I feel it might be getting a little bloated. We kind of have a large staff now. I'm just kidding. I have to say to the staff, no, your jobs are fine. But yeah, so, and the staff doesn't, they're very little involved in actually the editing process. The staff is tasked with keeping the servers running, fundraising, legal, all of the sort of background stuff to make sure the project is there. The real activity of building Wikipedia is community. It's lots and lots of people all over the internet who've come together to try to build this amazing thing.
And so, I mean, who checks things out now then? That voluntary, not the 25 people, but the but the voluntary members of the public.
Yeah, and we have probably, depending on how you measure it, there's a few thousand really active contributors. Most of them become administrators after some time. Administrators are elected from the community as being people who've proven themselves to be thoughtful and trustworthy. And they're the people who are really monitoring things and checking things and reviewing and doing a lot of the style work and all those kinds of things. You know, they block people if they're misbehaving. They lock articles temporarily if there's a problem. And so that's really where the bulk of the magic is. These are the people who really we all owe such a debt to, I think.
And so, Jimmy, if for instance, someone sends in the fact for my entry that I love nothing better than garlic, which in fact I can't stand, but assuming I didn't happen to see it immediately, how would that get corrected, or wouldn't it?
So what normally would happen, people have entries on their watch list if they have a knowledge about a subject. There's also people who are doing recent changes patrolling and they're watching things. And in particular with respect to biographies, in the last 2 or 3 years the community's gotten quite fierce about biographies, and we really want to make sure that those are good. So the most important thing that we look for is sources. I mean, one of the interesting things about Wikipedia is that although we're this radical new crazy thing on the internet, in our community we're actually very old-fashioned in a way. We really want to know what's the source for that. Do you have a good quality source? And you know, is a tabloid newspaper a good source? No, it isn't. You know, is the BBC a good source? Usually, yes. It's something to consider. We're looking for academic journals on scientific topics, things like this. So if someone just makes a bald assertion, particularly about a living person, we'd be very cautious about it. Now, something like that you like garlic, right? It's not necessarily the worst horrible thing. And so sometimes in that case, people will put a little tag that says citation needed and a date on that. And so then that will tell people sort of a warning. We don't have a citation for this, and then after a couple of weeks, if it hasn't been sourced, hopefully it'll get pulled out. If it's something seriously negative, we say it has to come out immediately until you've got a good source, because it's just too damaging otherwise.
And you mentioned earlier about the fact that that it's a charity, that you've made this into a charity, and you said somewhere in one quote that it was the best and the dumbest thing you've ever done. How does it divide up?
Well, it's the best. I mean, it's really an exciting thing. I'm very proud of it, and I think about when people look back 100 years from now at the early days of the internet. I think they're going to look at Wikipedia and say, "Wow, that was something really remarkable. That's something that really came out of that era. That was, neutral, very passionate community trying to do quality." And then the fact that it's a charity, which gives us a feel of neutrality, which we're really passionate about, is really good. It does make the fundraising more difficult, right? We always have to pay attention to, where are we going to get the money to keep Wikipedia alive? So we have an annual fundraiser on the website where people can come and donate money. We try to work with other individuals. It's part of my job constantly is thinking about how do we keep it going.
How much would Wikipedia be worth today if it was a commercial enterprise?
It's really hard to estimate. I mean, when you look at its position, in terms of the size, you've got Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, Facebook, Wikipedia, AOL. That's sort of the ranking in terms of the number of visitors. So whoever knows how much that might be, it's in the billions anyway.
Yeah.
And instead of being worth billions, it's a charity, and we have to raise, well, we're trying to raise $10 million for next year to keep it running.
Did you ever have to change something in your entry in Wikipedia?
I have edited my entry in the past. I don't anymore because the media gets too excited about things like that. But it's interesting when you have an entry about yourself in Wikipedia, you begin to realize it's interesting what the media knows of you and who you are as a person can be quite different by fairly random chance. I've been claimed to have hobbies that yes, I do like playing chess a bit, but it's not like a major hobby, but somehow it's become this legend,
Yeah. Oh, well, that's reassuring, yes, that we all we all want to make changes at some stage or other. Thank you very much for being with us, Jimmy. It's been a delight.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks to all of our guests for giving us such a memorable program. Thank you to them all, and thank you to you for watching, and we'll see you same time, we hope, next week in a studio with a little less traffic noise.